to potentially let that woman, again, be knocking on death's doorstep before they do anything for her.
All right, now to former Trump White House Communications Director Alyssa Farah Griffin's saying former President Trump often discussed executing people at White House meetings. Speaking with Mediaite on Friday, Griffin highlighted an April interview from former Attorney General Bill Barr, where he was asked if he remembered a time when Trump called for a leaker to be executed. And here's what he told CNN.
Alyssa Farah Griffin, who was Trump's communications director, posted yesterday and said that you were present at a moment when Trump suggested executing the person who leaked information that he went to the White House bunker when those George Floyd protests were happening outside the White House. Do you remember that?
I remember him being very mad about that. I actually don't remember him saying executing, but I wouldn't dispute it. I mean, it doesn't sound. The president would lose his temper and say things like that. I doubt he would have actually carried it out. I don't.
But he would say that on other occasions. You said
the president. The president had I think people sometimes took him too literally, and he would say things like similar to that in occasions to blow off steam. But I wouldn't take him literally every time he did it.
Oh, you mean like he'll get rid of Roe? That's just blowing off steam? Griffin went further, saying Trump had called for executions multiple times.
And Bill Barr kind of danced, said, like, I don't recall that specific instance, but there were others where he talked about executing people. And I'm like, how you rationalize that is a person fit in sound judgment to be president of the United States. They're reading the tea leaves. They know there's a very real chance he's going to be president again. And there's not a lot of glory or like victory in being right, but being on the wrong side of Trump. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to.
So, Gene, let's get this right. The Attorney General of the United States heard the Commander-in-Chief calling for the execution of staff members.
Yeah.
And then when he is asked about it, after he's made clear that he is going to endorse for president the man who's calling for the execution of staff members, because I guess Barr is shocked and stunned by Joe Biden's, student debt relief plan. That's where they always run to. Oh, well, if you think January 6th was bad and calling for the execution of staff members are bad, what about Joe Biden's three-tier plan to relieve students of their debt, which they actually do. They actually, that's their go-to. You think January 6th was bad. But here we have a guy who's attorney general, a lawyer. And I can just tell you, lawyers, I'm not even a good lawyer, but you get lawyers in conversations, they remember things. They have a dictaphone going in. They've got it going in their heads. And you hear something like that, you are trained for your mind to set that apart. Okay, the President of the United States just said we should execute staffers for leaking.
Yeah.
I mean, what Barr says is so laughable, and what Alyssa said is so chilling that we actually have Republicans, so scary, we actually have Republicans that are going to go out and endorse a guy who called for the execution of fellow staff members and then claims he doesn't remember it.
Yeah, I don't specifically remember that, but I won't deny it, right? I wouldn't say that I won't say that he didn't call for execution of staffers, because that's the sort of thing he did, right? That's the sort of thing he said. This is insane, right? I mean, step back for a second. We're talking about the President of the United States talking about how members of his staff should be executed for leaking information that he didn't want leaked, which was not national security information or anything. It's just something that he thinks is embarrassing to him. Absolutely unprecedented and insane, and we shouldn't, a lot of things that Trump is saying now. We shouldn't just sort of walk past it and say, as Bill Barr said, oh, well, people are taking him too literally. Well, I'm sorry, but that's like the only way I know how to take people, right? I mean, I can't, when you say I want to execute that person and you're the president of the United States, I have to take you literally. When you stand in front of a rally in Las Vegas and talk about, boats and electrocution and sharks, I have to take you literally. I don't know how to take it otherwise. This is a person who was elected president of the United States and who has a chance of being elected again. That should cause all of us to